How to rejuvenate an overgrown houseplant. Once you've had them for a while, houseplants can start to look tired, overgrown, leggy, or bushy. Luckily, you can rejuvenate the plant without having to replace it. You just need to familiarize yourself with some strategies, such as repotting and pruning, that can give your houseplant a new lease of life. Part 1: Identifying issues. 1. Know that houseplants sometimes need to be repotted. Don't neglect to repot your tired, looking, or overgrown houseplant, as it may just have overgrown its container. Generally, you should repot houseplants annually, unless they are large or slow growing, in which case every other year should suffice. Tropical plants like bromeliads should usually not be repotted. The method for repotting a houseplant is described in Part 2 below. 2. Recognize when your houseplant is in need of a pruning. Plants that have grown sparse and leggy, have leaf loss, or are overgrown, may benefit from a pruning. The method for this is described in Part 3 below. 3. Be aware that houseplants with dull-looking leaves may just need a good dusting. In the still air of a house, plants can become covered in dust. This can block photosynthesis, affecting plant health. Either wipe the dust off with a damp cloth or rinse it off under a lukewarm tap. You can also buy special leaf-shine cloths, but that usually isn't necessary. If you have a fuzzy plant like a cactus or African violet, try brushing off the dust with a soft brush or run a hairdryer over the plant on a cool setting. 4. Learn to deal with overcrowding. Plants such as hen and chick sedums, bromeliads, or spider plants can become too crowded in their pots because they have made too many new plants or just become overgrown. A slightly crowded plant looks better than a thin one as a general rule, so don't rush to separate crowded houseplants, just know that it may become necessary. Bromeliads may become very top-heavy, for example, making it necessary to pinch off the pups that grow as side shoots. Spider plants can be cut into sections, and you can remove the chicks from your sedums for replanting in new pots. Part 2: Repotting your houseplant. 1. Recognize when your houseplant needs to be repotted. If your houseplant needs repotting, the growth may slow down and you may see roots emerging from the bottom of the pot through the drainage holes. If you can remove the plant ball from the pot, you may see the roots all coiled at the bottom of the pot. When this happens, the plant is described as root-bound and needs repotting. Repotting also replaces tired compost with depleted nutrients, giving the plant a fresh source of nutrients. Don't move the plant to a much bigger pot, e.g. twice as big, otherwise the roots will grow at the expense of the visible plant and you won't get a good display. 2. Find a pot that is slightly wider and deeper than the plant's current pot. Give the new pot a good scrub or wash in a weak solution of bleach, then rinse thoroughly. This prevents infection spreading from the last plant it contained to the newly repotted one. 3. Remove the plant from its pot and gently tease out the coiled roots. You may like to give the plant a light prune, removing any dead, damaged, or diseased growth. 4. Put a shallow layer of potting compost in the new pot. Put the plant in and fill round the edges with compost, pressing down gently to remove air holes. The soil line of the plant should be the same as it was in the previous pot. Water well. 5. Don't fertilize for a few weeks. Fertilizing too soon after repotting can harm the roots if they were damaged during the move. You should also avoid putting the plant into bright sunlight for a few weeks whilst it recovers from the repotting. Part 3: Pruning your houseplant. 1. Tidy the plant up by removing any unhealthy growth. Your plants may not require a serious prune, possibly just a tidy up will suffice. Remove any dead, withered, brown, or yellowing leaves. These should pull away easily. Don't forcibly remove a leaf as only the loose ones need removing. You can use scissors to trim any damaged or diseased growth and cut off any brown leaf tips, following the natural shape of the leaf where possible to make it look natural. 2. Try to preserve the shape of the plant as you prune. First, have a good look at the plant and consider whether it has one central stalk or several. Consider whether the new growth comes from the base of the plant or only grows from the tips. You'll want to try to preserve the shape as much as possible, whilst reducing the size. Leave any new areas of growth where possible whilst pruning dead or woody parts of the plant that aren't spouting new growth. 3. Prune by cutting just above a leaf node. The leaf node is usually a small bump or opening where a leaf or branch comes out of the stem. Try to leave at least some greenery on the plant so it can draw its energy from the sun after pruning. 4. Encourage bushy rather than leggy growth. A good approach is to prune half the plant's longest branches back so they are a third of their original length. Alternately, if you see side shoots along the long stems, you can prune back to just above these side stems. This encourages bushy rather than leggy growth. 5. Be wary of extreme pruning. Some plants will recover from a very severe pruning right back to the base, but this should only be done in extreme circumstances. Check the pruning advice for your variety before you do this. 6. Feed the plant with a water-soluble fertilizer. Give the plant a feed using a water-soluble fertilizer after pruning, unless you are repotting at the same time. Avoid putting the plant into bright sunlight for a few weeks whilst it recovers from the pruning. 7. Keep an eye out for new growth. After repotting your houseplant, you may soon see new growth. To encourage bushy growth, you might like to pinch out the growing tips of new shoots once they have 2 or more leaves. 8. Propagate your houseplant using prunings. If you want, you can use the healthy-looking prunings to try to propagate your houseplants to make more of them. Generally, the way to do this is to take a healthy 4-inch, 10.2 centimeters, piece of growth, remove the lower half of the leaves and insert into moist, well-drained compost. Keep watering and some of your cuttings should root in a few weeks.